to the Do It All Dad Year podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me, controlling our kids through comedy. Can make our kids great again. And this is episode 37, homers, dunks, and TKOs. But first, some Do It All Dad material. I was at a bookshop in Katona last weekend, and then I ended up hard selling this 4-year-old kid on the Fancy Nancy series. And at one point, I say to the mother, for the record, I'm not a book sales rep for Fancy Nancy. And the mom gives me a nice compliment and says, well, you could. So that inspired these gems that I'm going to share with you right now. So let's get to it. Do It All Dad as a book sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Curious George books are way slower, kid, like Chevy Chase films when you get older. Fancy Nancy exudes way more spunk. Think Gilda Radner, but less yenta breathy, whiny spastic. Again, Do It All Dad as a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Why show your kids 3 o'clock high when Diary of a Wimpy Kid beckons? I'm sure your kid will have no problem defending himself when Sharia law is declared in Park Slope. Do It All Dad as a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. You really believe J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter after she got off Skid Row? Do her fruity, wizard, Oxford types seem like the barfly material Bukowski achieved literary glory with? That's for you, big man. You're my favorite writer. Always was, always will be. Besides yours truly. Thanks for inspiring me and for being the adopted father figure I've always sought, because you came into my life and you fulfilled that role. So thanks again. The Big Bukowski. Do It All Dad is a book sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Listen, kid, you read one Dr. Seuss book, you've read them all. Plus, vocabulary-wise, Dr. Seuss is like the never-ending story of absurdist ebonics in comparison. Do It All Dad is a book sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Roald Dahl is Podesta Brothers creepy in comparison, kid. God forbid, one kid's story isn't about some monstrous witch who gives Hillary Hammertime Kankles a good run for her money. Do It All Dad is a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Diary of a Wimpy Kid should toughen up your soy boy, bitch boy in no time. He can skip Joe Rogan's MMA dissertations on what it takes to be a badass pothead now. Do It All Dad is a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Diary of a Wimpy Kid? Really? I thought alpha males too busy kicking ass on the football team, devouring A-plus trim like air, were the prevailing Jack Kerouac diary penning types today. Do It All Dad is a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Diary of a Wimpy Kid? Sounds like porky, hipster marriage material in the making. At least you know he'll never possess the serial sex drive to cheat on your daughter with other homely women. Hey now. So, I mentioned the title of this podcast before. I said it's called Homers, Dunks, and TKOs. I was just at the local farm, Harvest Moon. I've mentioned it before. A guy was wearing a Fordham shirt. I always tell my kids that you should always use articles of clothing as a good starting point for conversation, because it's immediate common ground. So it's really not that much of a cold call knowing that you have some college to reference. I asked him if he played ball for them. He said he was a coach. So I asked him for some pointers. I said, my daughter is a great wiffle ball player. He says, how old? I said 7. I said, how can we get more launch, in terms of more aerial launch on her home runs? Because she's following through and she's not pulling them, and she's a smacker. But why aren't they going higher? And he said, well, there's a possibility that she's hitting on top of the ball and not as underneath it. And I said, well, my daughter, according to my daughter, her issue is that I'm not giving her primo pitches to go yard with. So I said, so what do you focus on in terms of like an actual target? Because my father didn't teach me anything. Which, and the original title of this podcast was going to be born to be more big time than dad. Nah, it's making me laugh right now. I should have went with that, but it's okay. We can go with the flow, and we can interject the themes here, because what I want to talk about in this podcast today, folks, is I mentioned this prior, but I saw this documentary on Tony Robbins, and this mantra, in terms of a philosophy for life, I think is so applicable, and especially for kids today, because this generation is definitely softer than ever, more mentally drug addicted than ever, and they definitely have more issues, as my father would say, than prior generations. And they can't write. People like Sarah Jiang is on the editor board in the New York Times, and her writing is gremlin poo. So this is the point. The point being is this. So this guy was like very shocked that I was taking such an active interest in trying to get batting advice for my daughter. And he said to throw the ball waist high. I said, thank you very much. Great advice. Totally appreciate it. I said, well, what about the contact point? Like, what are we talking about here? It basically says around the front hip part. But according to him, he's like, well, listen, dude, like, why are you bothering me? Like, leave me alone already. Just have your kids hit wiffle balls and have them take their time and move at their own pace. But that's not good enough for me, because my dad did not take an active role as a kid. He did teach me a half-formed hook shot, but I do plan on coming out with a collection of short stories now that I'm officially off Twitter, so I'm tired of being shadow banned after I recently caught a real hot streak. And I'm going to spoil you guys with those jokes right now. But I do want to go deeper, like Louis C.K. Without the power trip, I'm going to jerk off in front of you because I can, sort of, mentality, heading into the material. I mean, I'm all for jerking off, don't get me wrong. But, so, he was, this guy, this coach at Fordham was definitely taken aback. And, my attitude is this, is that, we could rely on coaches, we could rely on religious figures, but when it's all said and done, and I've said it before, I truly believe involved do-it-all dads, meaning dads that take an active interest in their kids' education. And that's what we're doing here in the Do It All Dad podcast, but we're using comedy as a tool for education so we can connect on a more personal level. The great Victor Borge, famous old comedian, says laughter is the shortest distance between two people. So what better way to bridge a divide and to foster a connection than through the use of comedy, if you have that ability. But I believe that anyone that possesses any level of sarcastic bite, who wasn't always the end-all to the be-all according to their parents, who does have a modicum of fondness for dry humor, who enjoys Family Guy and shows like American Dad, who could enjoy hardcore, vicious humor, which most people do. That's why Don Rickles had a career forever. He had a sweeter underside, but he was also pretty, he was vicious in a playful manner. And I believe that all parents could do the same thing, where they could basically pull off their own sort of Don Rickles routine, if you will. I call my younger son Twiggy. He's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. I also call him Little Hitler now. And we get a laugh out of that. Nicknames go a long way, but we'll get to that, folks. We'll get to that. But like I said, homers, dunks, and TKOs, okay? So as far as I'm concerned, that is the holy trinity. You could raise a kid. Now, obviously, you think, yeah, this applies to boys, but it could apply to girls too, because I just signed my daughter up for junior Kung Fu, and she's 7. Already, my daughter. I already told my daughter that, and this isn't me just like pumping her up, but I already told her that she had already easily choked one of her male classmates to death. No problem at all. And in a year, she's going to be able to beat me up. She's kettlebell dense strong. So she got a vicious right hook. It's a thing of beauty. Now, how'd you get the strong? So she got a good diet, so that helps. It helps when Do It All Dad over here makes a pineapple, ooh la la, Smoothie Express delight. For the record, what I've learned with kids, good luck trying to push spinach into your smoothies. Your kids aren't going to have any of it, okay? No protein powder. All protein powder is gross. Not just like regular gross. We're talking indigo girls performing naked gross, okay? So, no protein powder, no spinach, add a little sugar, some yogurt, whole milk yogurt to give it some nice, lushy, solid residual texture, and you made it in the shade. Anyway, and get a Ninja blender and use an excessive amount of ice. Love it already. When you treat your kids like adults, they talk back to you. Not talk back to you like adults, but they start developing confidence in expressing their own opinions. I wish I had that at an earlier age. But, like what Tony Robbins says, which I totally forgot to mention in his documentary Netflix, which you have to see, which is this, is that either your attitude is life is, poor, poor, pitiful me, poor, poor, pitiful me, I'm out of work, no one wants to hire me because I support Trump on social media, and I'm 41, and I'm much older than Millennial Musketeers, and I have a huge gap year, and they're going to think I've been fired more than a Palestinian slingshot. That's one attitude I could have right now. I could buy into my mom's hysteria. What, son? What, Scoops? You know I worry about you. You know I worry about you. As usual, Mom, you do a fantastic job instilling nothing but 5,000% confidence in your son, firstborn, exceeding his dreams. I don't understand how you could say that you believe in your son. Let me rephrase that. I don't understand how you could say, well, I adore you and revere you, when you tell your mom that, well, Mom, we are planning to move to Delaware eventually, but we're actually considering, for myself, I am I am pursuing talk radio opportunities in D.C. Immediate tension. It was unbelievable. We're talking immediate wall. It's as if, like, the Trump wall was built by freaking Megatron on the spot, and it literally stretched from here to Shanghai Shack. Yeah, unbelievable. And I said, hey, Mom, did you ever do that commute from Wilmington to D.C.? Because last time I checked, you had an express commute from Scarsdale to Manhattan and worked for J.P. Morgan forever and never took a creative chance in your life. Not that you were even capable of it, because you need to have a creative streak in the first place. Also, last time I checked, I wrote a Louis spec script called Patrice Appreciation Day that Nick DiPaolo ended up loving, and which led to me writing him a pilot, which got me to the big dance. So, Ma, I don't really want your opinion at all whatsoever, and I really resent the fact that you make the immediate assumption that, oh, well, I hate the idea of you going to D.C. because that's Trump country now, and that reflects very poorly on the state of our nation, and that the Trump White House is the real enemy of the people. You see, Mom, only you can make me more boring and ruin my flow. But what I'm saying, in the Tony Robbins documentary, he says your attitude could be this: you could play the victim, you could be the victim, where you could be like my younger brother, and the attitude is and my parents in this case act like the Democratic Party, and their attitude is, well, you're only gonna sustain any sort of a livable career with our support, because without it, you're screwed. So it's basically the exact opposite of individual empowerment, self-belief, faith, God. My mom's like, I'm worried about you. I go, Mom, I'm not drinking and drugging. Not that I'm referencing my younger brother. Free of the beer. I'm already down to 200 pounds. I'm almost down to J.J. Redick's college playing weight. Of course, I mentioned to my father. I get a chuckle, and he says, well, it's too bad you can't shoot like him, blah, blah, blah. Well, whose fault was that? So the point being is this. The other mentality that Tony Robbins says, and I had this conversation with my father, where he actually came to my side and acknowledged what I had to say, the truth of it, according to Tony Robbins' mantra, and this is it. The opposite of poor, poor, pitiful me, life's against me, I have no luck, or the other attitude is, well, you know what, Josh, Michael, that's me, you got fired from Robert Half for a reason. I could say, with the utmost confidence, one of those reasons was to dig deep and do this podcast. Prior, I did all these recruitment videos for stand-up staffer. Got Richard Lewis into them, Reverend Bob Levy, which was nice. Reverend Bob Levy used to be head Reverend Howard Stern, saying, you got it, kid, you're natural, relax. That was great. But I'm also past the point of trying to impress my role models, okay? I care about building an audience. Almost up to 1,000 downloads, folks. So thank you so much for your sustained interest and belief in this show and enjoying my thoughts on modern fatherhood and listening to stories about how I've grown closer to my children on the stay-at-home dad front. And I appreciate you embracing me, fighting the good fight as far as calling out hypocrisy and me defending my do-it-all dad ability in terms of raising confident, sweet, hilarious kids, and playing a role in accentuating all of that, and playing the role of life coach like Tony Robbins. Because Tony Robbins says the other attitude is, instead of saying, oh, life's against me, these things happen for me. And I always think back to like Joan Rivers, where she talks about how comedians, for the most part, really come from semi-loveless backgrounds in their parents. Why would they keep it their entire lives in terms of the pursuit of securing love from strangers, which I totally believe. And obviously, in the Do It All Dad Year podcast, I cannot emphasize the point enough. I mean, do we really, folks, guys, do we really want our daughters to turn into a fallen angel, Marilyn Monroe cliche, right? And we all know that we have a direct impact on whether that happens or not. So spend time with your kids. Like Louis C.K. says, that makes you more of a man. Puts you more in touch with the manhood. Put away the smartphones. And teach your children well. Because our parents didn't teach us about AIDS. We didn't talk about the crooked UN and how excessively anti-Semitic they are. We did not have conversations. I didn't have conversations about sex and disease and venereal diseases and how we had alcoholism and that was a major issue. How marijuana could lead to acid and mushrooms. And I would have liked to have heard some casualty burnout stories and not just the one story about one guy that thought he could fly that my father told me in college. We live in an age, people. We got pill parties, okay? We didn't grow up with pill parties. I'm Gen X. We had like shitty sprayed weed that tastes like Windex. Not that big of a deal compared to pill parties with Oxycontin. Last time I checked. So the do-it-all dad today, they have to be involved because you can't rely on education. You can't rely on higher universities when they're all hostage to groupthink and arrogant smugness and acting as if like they're the most diverse-minded, tolerant bunch when they're really the exact opposite. And they really completely circumcise individual thought. So do-it-all dads, I love you all. I love you for your interest in the show and for stepping up and for being modern-day He-Man. And you are worthy of praise. And I do want you guys on the podcast. Obviously, I know that most of you guys have jobs in corporate America. And I know it's not very PC to embrace certain expressions that I use, such as the unhuggable cunt in relation to people like Hillary Hammertime Cankles. But I will never stop defending our president, what he stands for. And that is to completely strangle whatever remaining life is of political correctness. Because it's caused way more damage than good. And the residual damage of Obama being president never seems to stop. But we'll get to that. But again, I had a conversation with my father where we're talking about, I said, Dad, listen, I want to thank you for not ever showing any interest in attending any of my stand-up comedy shows, or for asking to read my 30 Rock spec script after I became a recommended writer, or for saying anything nice after I was sharing direct messages directly from Richard Lewis, because what Jew from the Bronx doesn't appreciate Curb Your Enthusiasm and Richard Lewis? So it's okay, Dad. I'm not going to say I forgive you, but it's okay that when my American dad almost got me a paid fellowship into the Nickelodeon program, and you said, well, I guess you weren't good enough. It's okay. I'm glad that happened. Because if anything, you strengthened my resolve and my belief in me. And I had that conversation, and I feel very liberated. So again, this episode is called Homers, Dunks, and TKOs. Because those are three things I did not achieve in high school. And I firmly believe if I did, and let's think about the movie Back to the Future. McFly goes back in time, knocks out Biff, sticks up for himself, changes the complete trajectory of his life. So, I want to make sure that my kids get addicted to winning sooner than later, and that they graduate high school empowered. They know how to hustle. They already have big ideas. They use high school as a huge open mic, try out all their passions. Because I'm not sending my kid to college if they don't know what they want to do. They want to be an architect? Great. Well, we can start on that much earlier than later. There are specialized camps. I bet there's an architect camp. There are clown camps. My daughter, I've already said, hey Matilda, you want to be daddy's creative consultant for all of daddy's do-it-all dad children books that I'm going to start pumping out? Yes, daddy, that'd be great. Because Matilda, I'm thinking that, you're obviously a great artist. Art is your favorite subject. And you could draw all the illustrations based on you and your brother and Samuel. You're all gorgeous. And your younger brother Samuel is always getting confused with the Gerber baby, which is a charcoal sketch. Gerber baby was female. He's male. So who could resist? And last time I checked, you were better looking than Fancy Nancy. No offense. So I always tell her, listen, if you're a movie star, you gotta look like a movie star. But I don't want to send my kids into the hell pit that was responsible for the empowering and raping of Corey Haim, who that ultimately led to his premature demise and drug overdose. So rest in peace, Lost Boy. You and Feldman were fantastic. And by the way, there was an attempt on Feldman's life the moment that he said that he was going to start naming names. So I want no part of it. Okay? So we're going to do books. We're going to do this podcast. We're going to do the speaking circuit. Once this podcast becomes much bigger and more prominent. Last time I checked, I'm going to dream big, baby. 350 million Americans. Half of them are dads, I would think. Trans dads, whatever. So I have no problem. I want all of you into this podcast, okay? Because no one else is going to pat you on the shoulder, okay? Do it all, dad. Podcast host Michael Cornmuth wants to pat you on the shoulder, okay? I want to encourage you guys to pat yourselves on the shoulder even more. Throw your shoulder out. Suck a dick, Tim Allen. Been wanting to say that all week. He had an episode I found out where he makes fun of very involved dads. A little bit too self-pleased. Well, who else is gonna pat us on the shoulder? It's not gonna be our arrogant, elitist baby boomer parents, especially if they don't support Trump. So give me a break. It's not gonna be we're certainly not gonna get compliments from our fake feminist wives on occasion, who treat us like second-class citizens, especially if we work on the remote entrepreneurial stay-at-home-dad front. So give me a break. I don't want to hear it. But I'm not going to ruin this podcast talking about Tim Allen. I like Tim Allen, but never made me laugh out loud on any consistent basis. So I don't sweat you, Santa Claus. Growing up, my father would say, we would say, Dad, because my mom converted to Judaism, say, Dad, hook Mom up with the tree already. It'd be nice. Be a nice gesture. And my dad said, son, Jews don't believe in trees unless you can convert one into a treehouse and flip it for a profit. And I said, Dad, but it would really be a nice gesture. I mean, Mom, did abandon her relationship with her Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for you. And my dad said, son, give it a rest, okay? When Christians see a Christmas tree, they see gifts. When Jews see a Christmas tree, they see a camouflage cross. That came together beautifully. Thank you, Lord. Can I get an amen? I said amen. So, again, homers, dunks, and TKOs. So I told my kids, I mentioned this before, I'm in the middle of this beer, wine, whiskey fast. It's basically beer, because I don't really drink that much wine, and I don't really drink whiskey anymore, because it's all for the complexion, and I have no control over it. That's my crazy hick gene, so that's a matter of being self-aware. Although my kids, I do have permission for my kids. They do want me to drink on my birthday, which is very sweet. So definitely most spoiled dad in the world right here. Just want to make that clear. So, but I do have these box jumps. So my kids are already using them. So I can't wait to turn them into dunking machines. I want my daughter to be like the white Leslie Hoops. Is that her name? Who dunked in basketball games before in the WNBA. So I figure she's going to be at least 6'2". So I don't see any reason why she can't dunk. The key is just her problem in basketball, but we keep on doing hand strengthening exercises, and before you know it, she'll be a black belt in judo and push up on her knuckles. I don't think it's going to be an issue. So, homers, dunks, and TKOs. So I'm definitely on top of this. And really, folks, I mean, think about it. Do it all, dads. admit that you would have more money in your bank account right now, and you wouldn't be as scarred growing up, and probably wouldn't resent your dad as much if you learned how to kick some ass sooner than later and had the opportunity to dunk a basketball and go in your face and to go yard. I mean, come on. I mean, that's a way better feeling and way cooler than like hitting a killer shot up the tee, obviously. But I was talking about like, so anyway, so I'm at this toy shop in Kitona, and there was this kid, and he's like whining, like I don't, because basically they were there to get a gift for a birthday party. He's all spoiled and soft. I don't have this, I don't have this, and I get involved because that's what all dad does. I try to enlighten. I'm a giver, folks. I'm a giver, and I said, hey kid, how about a bouncy pink ball instead? Strengthen your hands with it. Homers, dunks, and TKOs is all you need to know. Or you could be a loser pussy like me in high school. Hey now. Huh. So Jim the Anvil passed away this week. Everyone knows who Jim the Anvil is. He was a member of the distinguished Hart family. They had a dungeon wrestling room that was made of a bunch of mattresses. And they would literally wrestle like all day long. We were walking up a hill from Peekskill. My daughter says, Daddy, can I like die or pass out from exhaustion? I go, listen, the Hart brothers used to wrestle in like sweltering 110-degree heat in a place called the Dungeon, and they would wrestle all day long, and they turned out okay. They ended up superstars. So no, don't worry about it. And Jim the Anvil was awesome. Jim the Anvil actually gave the Hitman Hart a glimmer of charisma through pure osmosis, right? I love that expression, through osmosis. I have this expression where I say, so I'm on the phone with some HR manager, I don't know, some creative director, someone interviewing me for a copywriter job, God forbid. And they'll say, why should I meet with you, Michael? Right? So it's question, why should I meet with you, Michael? Why should you meet with me? You should meet with me because star power rubs off through osmosis. Ha! See? Still works. I know it took a little while. So anyway, Jim the Anvil is no longer here. And it's definitely safe to say Jim the Anvil delivered the most athletic, pummeling jump body slams ever. Right? I mean, his jump body slams, talking about Jim the Anvil here, they got way more lift than Junkyard Dogs. Right? Plus, like Animal from Road Warriors wasn't pulling up those pink tights, nor was he capable of such twinkly spark either. Rest in peace, legend. Jim the Anvil. So, I was having a conversation with my mother. She has this pretentious friend from Philly. She worked in education for a while. And so, this really set me off. My mom was having a conversation with her. I made sure that I told her that my train was coming in like 5 minutes. So, we kept the conversation to a minimum. And I'll never forgive her because at my kids' engagement, at my engagement party before I got married, understand, this is my engagement party, and Abby, my mom's so-called friend, she told me to turn down the music because it was too loud. So, you're an insufferable C-word as far as I'm concerned, and you're not any fun. I don't care that you saw Cyndi Lauper, you think Bruce Springsteen did to the BL, so did everyone else in the 80s that's a baby boomer, so it doesn't really make it that unique. Sorry. So, here we go. So, this is what my mom said to Abby, and this really set me off. She goes, I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. And these are a bunch of responses that I wish I said, but I never did. So here we go. Mom, this is my mom. I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Did my nickname creation in their honor escape your memory during your TED Talk on creativity, Ma? I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Did you tell her Matilda's first grade teacher told the class I should be hosting my own kids show after my killer performance as guest classroom reader? On that, Matilda gets not jealous, but a little nervous or a little weirded out due to the excessive amount of attention Daddy got when I came in for the final story time performance. That was the culmination of the end of first grade, where my daughter read her own story about Pop, and now the entire class was chattering about me because of my killer performance Was that mentioned? I probably didn't share that with you, Mom, because that would have been too much detail, and I just would have been setting myself for more perpetual disappointment. Mom, I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Hey, Mom, I bet the conversation went south after you mentioned our Jews for Trump t-shirt Christmas card last winter. Mom, I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Hey, Mom, my daughter thinks I'm a creative genius. I wonder where she gets her imagination from, Ma. I love that one. Mom, I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Was that after you failed to mention your intention to ever give a shit about my comedy career aspirations in that letter of yours? It was the worst letter of all time because your career in banking bore the shit out of your dad, too. Mom, I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Hey, Mom, Matilda came up with a wild idea. You respected me, even after you compare me to ex-cons scoring jobs in our current post-Trumpian economy. And after you referencing them saying, so, son, what the fuck's wrong with you? Mom, this is my mom. I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Does Abby know I named my first son Arthur Morrison Kornbluth? Did you point out how creating a flow of a name through Kornbluth is easier said than done? Obviously not. I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Does Abby think CNN is the best friend she never had? Yeah. Does she know Trevor Noah is a joke thief? He stole jokes from Russell Peters, the Indian comic from Canada. Look it up on Google. Just feeling it out, Mom, whether her brain still possesses the power of independent thought. Mom, I was telling Abby how creative your kids were. Did you tell her Arthur's nickname for Daddy? My first son. Did you tell Abby about Arthur's nickname for me? Always loud. Because I'm louder than Busta Rhymes at a midnight showing of Higher Learning. Not that you would get an awesome reference like that, but I appreciate I wasted my breath on you. Mom, I was telling Abby what a happy baby Samuel is. I've said it once, and I'll say it again, Mom. Funnier dad, happier baby. But you already told Abby how creative my kids are, so their natural born hilarity as an offshoot of my star-powered seedage is implied. Correct? Mom, I was telling Abby how creative your kids are. Again, Mom, does she know Trevor Noah's a joke thief? Google it. Plus, nobody loved Obama, Mom. Comedy Central execs felt the same way when they decided to re-sign Trevor Noah for the foreseeable future. So I was talking about Do It All Dad as a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. I got some new material that I did not mention before. So this Do It All Dad as a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Hunger Games is child appropriate. Jennifer Lawrence thinks Trump causes natural disasters. Then again, Hunger Games should be at your kid's intermediate reading level. Do It All Dad is a sales rep for Fancy Nancy. Don't you think Little House on the Prairie is too stomach-churning, deplorable Midwestern for your taste? Let's not pretend you moved from the city to open a dairy farm in upstate Troy, New York, either. Vienna was voted the most livable city in the world, beating out Melbourne. We wanted to get married in Australia. My wife is originally from Australia. She was raised for the most part in Victoria, but prior to that, she grew up in Brisbane. It's a tad more hickey hinterland, but it's come around and it's developed more. So when we get married there, my mom being the perpetual buzzkill, shut down my concept. She calls me up and says, "Son, Australia is a very long flight from New York, and your father doesn't love you that much." So in order to make my wife feel better about the situation, I said, "Babe, assuming we have a boy one day, instead of hiring a rabbi for the kid's circumcision, we'll hire Crocodile Dundee." Just so we could hear a room full of Jews say, "Now that's a knife. You could chop it all off with that thing." Really glad I slowed down that gem. That's older than Yiddish. And of course, I christened, I know I'm Jewish, but I christened the birth of my two sons with that joke, because how do you not deliver such A-plus material to celebrate the birth of their children when you're not getting any fancy whiskey or champagne or any larger-than-life flower displays from your virtual grandparents on both sides of the fence? It's a reality. Deal with it. You could have showcase more love, acknowledging the awesome momentumness of the miracle of life, but, you call me small brat, I don't care. So Vienna was voted the most livable city in the world. Banning CNN from coffee shops put them way over the top. And of course, it also helped that Vienna decided to ban Yentas from Long Island from singing Vienna by Billy Joel at karaoke bars. So that definitely didn't hurt their countrymen's ears either. Took my daughter to see a Billy Joel concert when she was 3. My mom, the buzzkill again, says, son, make sure my daughter wears earplugs for Billy Joel. And I said, Mom, you're overreacting big time. I'm not taking her to see Metallica last time I checked. Also, these days, Billy sounds a little downer-esque compared to his earlier 70s, prime. And with all said and done, you see Billy Joel at the Garden these days, the majority of the music really sounds more like lullaby music for 80s Republicans. Ha! Hey now. So this is a hardcore joke. I shouldn't say it, but I'm doing it anyway. I don't care. So Billy Joel, this isn't the hardcore part, but Billy Joel is going to be a father again. He is. That should free up another bottle of red for Billy. I just hope that when he made the announcement on Facebook that his daughter Alexa wasn't anywhere near a medicine cabinet. I'm sorry. I just, unfortunately, his daughter tried to take her own life. And that's awful. Now, if Billy Joel taught his daughter how to dunk a basketball or how to knock someone out or go yard and do more than just play piano and live in a shadow, could they made a difference? Perhaps. Not judging. But, John Bon Jovi, I mean, these are like role models of mine, obviously. But, and John Bon Jovi even more so. He's been a sober lamb. His daughter almost had a heroin overdose. So, I just don't understand how you're not having conversations about suicide or self-destructiveness when you're a rock star. Or maybe they did, and maybe it just didn't make a difference. But I would like to hear your perspectives on that when I actually do take in a phone call or do an interview sometime this millennium. But that's definitely another future podcast. Like, there's that show, like 12 Reasons Why, where it's like normalizing suicide, make it like borderline attractive, and definitely desensitizing kids to it. And I'm not in favor of that. But, Netflix is, definitely, questionable in terms of their own morality. But I don't want to ruin my flow and talk about Netflix right now and how they hooked up Obama and Susan Rice with very cushy positions for basically coming out with more propaganda material docs that are going to make an attempt to further poison the free-flowing debate of ideas for like meaningful prison reform. They actually bring us closer together and not divide us apart with like stupid, empty, fabricated charge of racism. But I don't want to sound repetitive. So, living proof. My 7-year-old daughter isn't a pretentious comedy nerd. I play her the dinosaur bit by Bill Hicks from Spotify. And she says, without me asking, after listening to the bit, I like dice better. Beautiful doodle dad moment. We were reading a book from the library prior about dinosaurs. Those names for dinosaurs, I don't know how anyone remembers all of them. They're totally boring, and they need to be incredibly shortened. And so I just picked out like the juicy parts. Like, pretty wild that alligators, turtles, that they all were around back during dinosaurs, that their lineage is that long. Like, isn't it crazy? Like, you could actually do like a search on Ancestry.com and find out that, basically some snapping turtle, the reason why he's really this like shy turtle, never came out of a shell, was all because, his great uncle times 130 million years ago was like raped by a Brontosaurus Rex. Yeah, that actually came together, and I had no idea where it was going to go. So I'm going to give another shout out to the Lord upstairs, and I'm going to say, can I get an amen? I said amen. So, talking to an old friend, J Master J. Love him very dearly. Just came back from Hawaii because he's a baller. And he says, he lives in LA. So he says, you're doing a good job slowing down on your podcast. I can hear your brain really concentrating at it, like right now, for instance. And my reply, in my mind, I'm thinking, don't be a Dax Shepard spaz, man. You've got real punchlines worth waiting for. Hey now. Dax Shepard. There was a funny Mark Maron episode where he made fun of Dax Shepard. So, Do It All Dad. What was I talking about? Oh, the Klan. Is the Klan back, Antifa? It was just a year anniversary of Charlottesville. Is the Klan back, Antifa? Then where was the Klan for 8 years when Obama was president? Was the Grand Dragon hiding under her sheets? Depressed, I guess? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. How are our Iranians posing as Make America Great loving Twitter trolls? Because Obama killed all fresh-filled hope the Arab Spring had to offer? Vimeo. That's how you pronounce it. Vimeo. Scrubs Alex Jones from its streaming service. I thought Vimeo was just MTV's last Hail Mary shot at cultural relevancy again. But now Vimeo is playing the role of morality police? Kurt Loder wannabe, please. Great joke, I know. Got no love on LinkedIn. Convinced that was shadow banned. Or people I just don't understand. We become so gun shy. We're too politically correct. Like it and I get you fired. So God, please make this podcast work. Peter Thiel, if you're out there, I'm going to make sure that you're listening. Be my investor. You want to get involved in new media? I'll be the face of the franchise. Look like Hugh Grant on stilts. All right? I got the energy. I got the punch. I got the pop. I got the fearlessness. I'll take on anyone. Let's make it happen already. Good for you for bankrupting Gawker, those scumbags, for outing you. They deserve it. Glad Hulk Hogan won his lawsuit. Pushing that sex tape. Wasn't a situation with with the Kardashian tape that was premeditated by the mom to give her a career. I don't know if you guys, a little doodle dad tip. The Kim Kardashian tape, not worthwhile at all, okay? Complete dead fish in it. In the Kim Kardashian sex tape, compared to the Paris Hilton sex tape, the Kim Kardashian one, compared to the Paris Hilton one, she makes Paris Hilton look like a hungry intern in comparison. Hey now, love that joke. Still works too. And come on, guys. Do you guys really buy the fact that Bruce Jenner was asexual when married to Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian's mother? I don't. But I know for a fact that Bruce was definitely able to stay harder longer after he convinced Kris Jenner to cut her hair short so she could look more like a dolled up rough macho. So August. It's still August, people. It's the longest month ever. The month of August drags on like it's on de Blasio time 24/7. Peter Schwartz was fired for being anti-Trump. I thought it was his refusal to look into Hillary's deleted emails because she claimed they were only about yoga and funeral arrangements in case Chelsea's fiance jacked up his asking price at the last sec. Bruce Bowen got clipped as a TV analyst for calling Kawhi Leonard an unaccountable, coddled, overpaid pussy without the P part on satellite radio. You would think he was talking about Obama on Morning Joe. To my mom, we'll take Grandma's painting back to Arizona if you don't want it, was my reply. Ma, I made peace with Grandma blowing off my wedding because you didn't want to deal with her, but let's not push our questionable taste. Fake news, fake concerns of physical harm is a bigger stretch than Hillary claiming any of her 30,000 deleted emails were yoga related. Involving mere post-New Year's get-in-shape promos from Lululemon. To my mom, you seem pissed off, my reply. I mentioned working in D.C. without being specific, and you resist the idea because you become a dumbed-down, feckless, race-baiting, Pavlovian C-word. Can I walk away now? Thanks. Obama's enduring legacy. Any minority or woman can engage in slander and false charges of sexual harassment and get fake news to voice their stories in the name of so-called personal empowerment and blame their firing on collusion if it makes Trump look bad. Wife not helping my rage issues. My parents drove Arthur and Matilda to Harvest Moon. Baby Samuel's with me. Once we arrive, Arthur and Matilda run into my arms, and I can feel my dad behind me thinking, what makes you so special? You're not helping, babe. At Trader Joe's. This is me, the unemployed comedian/slash father of three. And I say to my kids, pick out any pasta you want, guys. Hold on. That penny's wheat, Matilda. My daughter says, yuck. Not interested. And my reply, why can't Antifa resist around this? Have my parents take out 2 out of my 3 kids to the library because I don't want to drain them dry. I'm a humanist. Mom returns. Mom says, the librarian was aware of you. And I said, Mom, what you mean to say is, I think what you meant to say is, you mean excessively enamored. My precious granddaughter, that expression used by my mom to describe only my daughter and not my other 2 sons in a text, really grinds my gears. My precious granddaughter grinds my gears because my 7-year-old daughter just referenced, that I'm talking about here, she only gets such distinction compared to her other 2 brothers. My own daughter, Matilda, she even told me, she says, Grandma only compliments me, Dada. I'm not making this shit up, people. Bruce Bowen got clipped as a TV analyst for saying Kawhi Leonard shrunk from the pressure of a star player salary in San Antonio, despite being protected by more made men in black than Meyer Lansky when the mob ran Cuba. Colin Jost and Michael Shea packing up personality together to fill out a thumbnail. Only because Colin Jost dry humped Molly Shannon at an after-hours SNL party once. So Molly's star power rubbed off through osmosis. Now, you see? Osmosis. There it works again. So this is Do It All Dad. So there's an article on LinkedIn talking about how I eventually want to write a blog called The College Crapshoot, but it's basically talking about how, these colleges are worth $75,000 a year because you're going to get a job and you get much money for your buck and blah, blah, blah. So this Do It All Dad is college recruiter for Occidental College. For $69K, you can send your son to Occidental College. And like Obama, there will be no record of his time here. It will be as if his legacy never existed. Do It All Dad is a college recruiter for Citadel. It's military college. $32K a year to learn to honor. $32,000 a year to learn honor. And impenetrable mental toughness is a good deal compared to sending your pothead son to Ithaca College for $72,000 a year to major in communications, which is Cornell's retarded next door neighbor last time I checked. Do It All Dad as a college recruiter for Portland University. $65K a year is a great deal. So the city of Portland hooks up heroin addicts with safe shoot-up spaces and delivers less security than your pothead RA. Not smart enough for Berkeley. My wife always called me a college snob. Do It All Dad, which is obviously shining through here. Do It All Dad is a college recruiter for Iona College. $56,000 a year for decrepit towny college bars where plastic 4-leaf clovers cling on drab walls like tar on Molly Malone's teeth is the deal of the century, right? This Do It All Dad is press secretary Kornbluth. Enough with all the Trump voters being racist. Trump got almost the same amount of votes as Obama. So what are you saying, Acosta? All these proud, tax-paying, legal Americans are in the midst of a white supremacist crisis, Torp? Do It All Dad is press secretary Kornbluth. Trump voters hate black people? Did Trump run against Obama? All Obama did was introduce Jay-Z at Hillary Hammertime Kankel's gatherings. 15-person roundups is a very liberal use of the word gatherings. I know. That's one of the jokes that was shot at, man. I'm sure you'd agree. Do It All Dad is press secretary Kornbluth. President Trump doesn't drop the N-bomb any more than Obama invites Jews to his D.C. compound for his book club for Philip Roth Appreciation Month. Was Saul Bellows a commie cocksucker? I forget. University of Chicago grad, actually. So I'm at a fancy farm in New York. So it was my grandma. She says, I was telling your daughter about carpe diem. And this is my dreamy response that I never uttered. And this is me saying to my daughter, ask grandma how often Mimi sees the opportunity to see my stand-up comedy sets in Manhattan. It's my mom. Why would you look for a job in D.C. if you moved to Delaware? My reply that I never said. I was thinking a job in talk radio or for the Trump White House team would reveal the shallowness of your love. Why would you look for a job in D.C. if you moved to Delaware? Mom, after your 3 grandchildren for 2 summers in a row, the Amtrak ride to D.C. will feel like a 5-week rave in Germany. So Peter Schwark was fired for being anti-Trump. That's part of it. But I'm sure if you were calling the boss of your company an idiot, he'd laugh it off after you tried to get him fired from a job he's doing pro bono in the first place. Moron. Extending my daughter's age of innocence. Cutting off my mom from talking about her dead friend from high school. And for going way too long in the process. Who I never heard about, till she started going on and on about in front of my 3 kids. And this is like one of our last time together before they go back to Arizona. So this is me extending my daughter's age of innocence. Cutting off my mom from talking about her dead friend from high school that I never heard of till now. I said, Mom, my daughter isn't... I said, Mom, no offense, but can we stop talking about your dead friend and her dying of cancer? Because I just had skin cancer removed, and also, my daughter, I know you're not around here enough as it is, but my daughter already, freaks out enough about aliens being real and is already worried excessively about the sun turning to a black hole one. So that's for you, Chris Cornell. Apparently, one rumor is that that was also a staged suicide, similar to Anthony Bourdain. He apparently was about to out a lot of the sex trafficker pedophiles. And, that guy light by the balls. He had no reason to kill himself. And apparently he was in really good spirits the concert the night before. And so that's that. This is me at the Fancy Farm in North Salem. This is the manager. We're out of espresso pods. This is my reply. How else can you get it for more CNN? The manager at the Fancy Farm laughs long time. This is my friend, J Master J. He goes, what's the story with the skin cancer? Been in talks since he came back from Hawaii. And I said, I did a funny podcast on it called Getting Love from Cancer. And I got mad love for some poem posts on it on WordPress. Who knew? I'd found my voice from getting skin cancer. Now Jay-Z looks like an uglier, defeated Obama, as if the gig is up. We know you told Meek Mill to cancel his meeting with Trump to discuss transformative prison reform, because black people today got 99 problems, but Trump isn't one. Great joke, I know. So this do-it-all dad, titty shaming, his 7-year-old daughter at Trader Joe's. Hey, Matilda, should we stock up on soy dogs for your baby brother? Before you know it, he'll have bigger breasts than you. So this is me talking to my kids. My son Arthur, he wasn't eating these shitty wheat waffles that all I did was, it's not like I made it from scratch, so I wasn't going to push the issue and have him eat all of them. But I already gave him Fruit Loops, and I said, listen, I'm not turning into some sugar junkie freak over here, so take a little bites of the waffles. I said, I'm not raising spoiled, needy kids, or else I'm no better than the job my dad did with Uncle John. So work with me, kid. Uncle John isn't called Sir Snort-a-Lot for nothing. So Ritzy Event in, I think it was Manhattan, told MSG owner James Dolan that he was not allowed to perform a song about Weinstein allegations. What was the song called? Harvey fucked Matt Damon's presidential aspirations? I love that joke. All of de Blasio's talking points to CNN are ripped off from Succession on HBO and John Oliver's Daily Show years. So I finished watching that show. Always my parents recommended it. Not because I usually take their advice, but I do love Bryan Cranston. He's great in 25th Hour. And he's funny in Super Troopers. In his own way, kind of. And I don't even mind the fact that he's a limey. I love those English actors who just hide their English accents completely. I say limey in an affectionate sense. It's not derogatory, really. But yeah, Bryan Cranston's a great actor. Always loved him. And it's cool that the guy from Ferris Bueller's is in it too. So And I think there is hope for society because they have a Bernie Sanders character, and they go at him hard. They make fun of like his, so they call him like a limousines, like fake news socialist. They didn't use that expression. That would have been really funny, but they do call out his hypocrisy, which I think is cool. So good for you, HBO. There might be hope for me after all. So in terms of actual employment, or me making money from my books, my Do It All Dead franchise, and maybe I won't be banned from or have my hostile, divisive material scrubbed from Spotify. But again, I want to thank people at iHeartRadio for accepting my podcast because it's a sign of real persistence on my part. It's my understanding you need to have a podcast for at least 3 months, and I've been pumping them out pretty regularly. So thank you, iHeartRadio. You're a huge internet radio station. You got a huge reach, and you keep freedom of speech alive, and I would love to be a shining star example to uphold that. So, very honored and privileged to join the iHeartRadio family. I mean, obviously you're not cool on Spotify, but nobody's perfect. So, I'm mentioning scrubbing. I just have to mention Alex Jones one more time. This is so funny to me. So I don't know if you guys heard, but Alex Jones is banned from LinkedIn. IT recruiters are next, people. Software developers still wear headphones at work to avoid small talk among their female tech underlings. Because of the time-sucking inefficiency of it all. But that's right. Alex Jones is banned from LinkedIn. This is true. So IT recruiters are next people, like I said. And software developers, they do wear headphones to also avoid phone calls from tech editors like Sarah G. Young at the New York Times, whose writing is gremlin shit anyway. So, not a major momental loss there. I feel my daughter coming in here saying, I got to start wrapping it up. It's going to be making in the light because my wife's delicious, locally sourced vegetable lasagna, I think it's going to be ready very soon. So, this is a golf course in Martha's Vineyard. All right, this is Obama, Spike Lee. Obama, what up, Spike? Spike Lee. Do the right thing. Oh, and organize a new millionaire march with you and Farrakhan. Flavor Flav and the Bomb Squad is free to perform last time I checked. So Barry Bonds just honored in Pac-Bell Park. Truth is, only Barry Bonds broke Hank Aaron's home run record. Slimeball Canseco never came close to breaking it. Plus, if I took steroids at sleepaway camp back in the day, I'd just strike out with more accelerated speed. This is my mom. Just text. It's official. I have full-blown poison ivy. This is my reply that I never said. Mom, you almost knocked off all 3 of my kids this summer with the flu that they contacted from you. I hate to nitpick. Emails. This was very juicy. I learned this last weekend. Emails reveal Bill de Blasio's gal Cynthia Nixon tried to discourage Jennifer Hudson, Oscar winner. Emails reveal Bill de Blasio, Garlic Breath de Blasio's gal Cynthia Nixon tried to discourage Jennifer Hudson from performing at a pro-charter school rally. I only hope. Jennifer Hudson's reply was, dream on, Red Snapper. Steve in Sex and the City acted circles around you, acting into you ever. Love that joke. But again, like I said, emails reveal Bill de Blasio's gal Cynthia Nixon tried to discourage Jennifer Hudson from performing at a pro-charter school rally. But this form of collusion isn't fishy or rotten to the core at all. Garlic breath. A lot of people don't know this. It's not mentioned. It's a great joke. I wanted to do it at the Apollo. Looks like my future. Looks like I'll be blessing the people at this golf club at Yorktown Heights. My new boy, who's a chef, Chef Rory, at Hayfield. Used to be Mia Farrow's personal chef. Very cool guy. Loves me. And he told me about this new mic because he believes in me and cares about my professional development and being able to provide for my children eventually. So, why was I talking about Rory? Talking about Woody Allen. Oh, here we go. So, yeah. So this is the joke that I'm going to do there at a golf club in Yorktown Heights, which has historical relevance. That's the point of the joke. Here we go. So a lot of people don't know this. Bill de Blasio's wife used to be a full-blown, like, militant, African-American lesbian, right? But we're supposed to believe garlic breath converted her. Big Bird de Blasio, last time I checked, eats pizza with a fork and knife. Yet Big Bird is going to bury his beak into her bean pie with such messy abandon. Totally is worth the wait. This is Do It All Dad as a cooking show host. Welcome to episode 1. Do It All Dad versus Panda Express. Soy sauce is like estrogen shots for sexually confused hipster spawn reared on Lou Reed Records. Panda poo. That's my equivalent of bullshit. So I thought that was cute because I do plan, something to look forward to, folks, on the Do It All Dad Year YouTube channel. There's going to be a show. Chef Samuels, that being my son. I think we're going to call it Double Talk with Chef Samuels. Well, obviously, my son can't talk, and I'm going to do the double talk. And if we really love something, we're going to give double stuffings of it. Because when my son really loves something, he's always double fisting it, which I think is hilarious and something we could really make funny. And last time I checked, there isn't a Do It All Dad. The great late Anthony Bourdain always says lunch should be very soul affirming. So I love the idea of do it all. We're very short, 10 minutes. Make it funny. Get my kids involved, and show how a Do It All Dad. Let's say he's only doing the weekends, whatever, but we can make a awesome, healthy, delicious meal for lunch for his children. And if I can give him some, some funny material or interesting, funny facts to incorporate, that much better. So that's what we're going to do with that. And I am a published foodie fiction author in Fire and Knives. Only American in there, by the way. Do have had 3 pieces published in there. First one being, I don't drink German Rieslings. Headline hookers are a forte of mine. I know. And Anthony Bourdain rips my frozen lunch apart. And my very last meal, where I contemplate all these options that are my last meal. It's very funny. Reads like a stand-up comedy monologue. And the other one, Anthony Bourdain, rips my frozen lunch apart, is about Anthony Bourdain and his voice ripping me a new one for bringing a chicken tiki masala to work, thinking that I would feel better about myself in the process. So, wrote that in your public library. Never had a bad writing session there, ever. I am very much a believer and endorser of tapping into certain writing creative spirits, because I've never had had any strikeouts with material at the New York Public Library. So there's definitely awesome creative spirits blowing through the air. So again, Do It All Dad is cooking show host for Double Talk with Chef Samuels. I'm liking that title. So to be continued. So this is a no-win situation with your wife. My wife saying, you're being snippy. And this is a reply that I obviously didn't say. If I took a vow of silence, you claim I do it as... We're not going to do that. So that's not going to work. So Carmelo Anthony signed with Houston Rockets because of Obama collusion. Losers have to stick together for the resistance. So good for Carmelo. Signed with the Rockets. He's excited to play a lesser flow-sucking role this season. Sure. And Judge Reinhold is falling for the banana in the tailpipe in the remake of Beverly Hills Cop again. So I'm staring at CNN because I'm at McDonald's with my kids, and they actually have a panel of 5 dissecting Trump's tweets about Omarosa. I wonder how much Obama's paying her to yap more meaningless threats. She's like Al Sharpton with worse hair. So, this is the Do It All Dad Year podcast. Dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. Controlling our kids through comedy. Can make our kids great again. Homers, dunks, and TKOs. I will feel that I have been a successful father if I can make sure that all 3 of my children achieve them, that being my 2 boys and my daughter. And talk about great memories, right? Like, I remember when I was in LA and I thought I was doing cocaine. It turned out to be crystal meth. At the time, I just thought it was really great cocaine because after 2 lines, I got all pumped up and said, I was acting like a coked out tongue of the tiger going, this shit is great. And then, like 72 hours later, the guy that I was doing it with, I said, dude, that was really strong blow. He goes, dude, it was crystal meth. I said, dude, I thought it was just really good coke. He goes, I thought you knew the difference. And I said, dude, what the fuck is it? The Pepsi Challenge? And I remember clinging on for dear life. I'm literally, and at one point he goes, don't OD in front of my store. Most scariest moment of my life. I thought, how pathetic is this? My younger brother, who's had the issues with the cocaine, the nose candy, and he's been way more of a degenerate than me. He's the one who's been arrested a bunch of times, blah, blah, blah. Not me. And, I'm not saying that makes me, like, morally superior. Even though I told him not to bang some chick off the internet, and he did leave a used condom on a couch my kids used to play with. So that happened. But I'm not going to turn this into a bachelor's for my younger brother, but this is my point. My point being, I thought, what a tragic ending. And I think about it in terms of this podcast coming full circle, because in the movie Succession, in the finale, the son, I'm ruining, I'm a spoiler alert, I don't care, that he gets into an accident. He relapses, starts doing blow again. He goes out with this guy who was a server at his sister's wedding at this castle in England, and they go into a pond and they drown. And the spoiled Robert Murdoch's son in Succession gets back to the castle. Doesn't really make much effort to save him. And, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, wow, like, you want to talk about a worst case nightmare scenario come true. And that easily could have happened to my brother. And, I don't drink and drive anymore. I haven't done it in a very long time. I always had this cardinal rule saying, don't do it unless you know where you're going. And I met my father one time and I fell asleep at the wheel, and that was beyond scary. So I haven't done it for a long time, thank God. But, do it all, Dad. You can't talk to your children about that, soon enough. You really can't. And these days, people are texting when they drive. So do it all, dads out there. Please talk to your kids about drinking and driving. I've already told them it will ruin your life, and you'll make mom and dad die prematurely inside. So if you love us, don't do it. And don't get in cars with people that do. We have Uber right now, so you don't have to. Like Jim Rome used to say, like these guys, these professional athletes, like they can afford limos. Like it just doesn't make any sense. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just being stupid. And of course, Oz. You got the Beecher character. What white boy can't relate to that, right? He's the lawyer character. Not that we're all lawyers. Some of us are, degenerate Jews like myself, so have to like count on our fingers to do like simple arithmetic. But he was drinking and driving, and then he ended up in jail and got raped by Nazis and all his bones broken. And hey, could happen to me or any of my Jewy friends in Westchester. The Gentile ones, Asian ones, whatever. We all drink and drive. We all did it. Our parents never talked to us about it. So again, another reason why this Doodle Dad podcast is important. We need to have these conversations. I don't think the health ed teachers, do they even have sex ed health teachers anymore? Who's having these conversations with their kids? They need to have them. They need to know them. I'm not hearing about Kimmel. It's all Nazi this, Nazi that. Charlie Rose isn't around anymore. So Tim Ferriss, maybe. He doesn't have any kids, so I don't really think he's got a vested interest in the fucking subject. So who's talking about these subjects? Michael Kornbooth, host of the Doodle Dad podcast. So my point, when I thought I was going to die, an overdose, where I literally felt my eyes rolled back in my head, I was thinking, I did my best to cling on to nice memories. And I didn't have that many. I thought my ex-girlfriend, Erica, back then I didn't have many major writing wins. I wasn't published yet. I hadn't become a recommended writer. I hadn't got my TV writing break. So, I felt just, lonely and shallow and very defeated. So I thank God for bringing me back from the dead and for making me stronger than ever. My mom, I said goodbye to her. She's going back to Arizona. She was like, I worry about you. I go, Mom, I'm not drinking and drugging. My relationship with God is stronger than ever before. My real friends are stronger than ever. Those connections with them. They believe in the podcast. And they're giving me constructive criticism. They're not just blowing me, which is what true friends do. Not ones that just are dream detractors and just shit on you. And like Frank Sinatra says, some people love stomping on a dream, or something like that. I just got this Frank Sinatra record. Literally, please, do it all, Dad. Buy a record player and play them for your children. It's the only way to listen to music. I got like an $8 record. It's literally got like 40 songs by Frank. Like totally made my day while cleaning up the house today, while getting ideas for the focus of this podcast. So thank you, Frank. So I think I'm gonna die, and I don't have these memories. Now, wouldn't it be nice? I think we would have made that those worrying shakes where I thought I was gonna die if I had hit home runs and had knocked out Darren Gable at camp when he threw pebbles at me and I didn't hit back because he said, "Well, I'm gonna strike back," even though he was a pussy redhead from freaking Great Neck, Long Island. Yeah, think the situation might have been avoidable, or I at least would have had great memories that I could have then it could have given me greater peace of mind. And that made me feel like a fucking loser jerk off was going to die because you know the difference between cocaine and crystal meth. At least I would have had, maybe I would have been to Tulane University and I would have been in a fraternity. I would have had, greater insight into like my drug intake. So that's one thing. So I know I talked about TKOs, homers, and dunks. Dunks, TKOs, and homers. But then the other title of this podcast morphing into born to be a bigger deal than dad. And I say that because do it all dads, any involved do it all dad, right? Any guys that work remote, best choice their dad's never had. Not that they would have taken advantage of it. But my point is this. I think we all know we live in a very scary society. Internet's completely screwed up this generation with social media, sexting, daddy, what's a dick pic? The death of small talk. So we live in a generation of AIDS, terrorism, pill parties. The people like the Kardashians are like big stars, and they're basically made a career of sex tapes. But good for Kim for actually using a position of power and getting that woman out of jail. So she's much more than that now, and she really is a social activist. So congratulations, Kim. I bust balls it. I love you for doing that, and good for you for using your platform. And I love you, Kanye, for refusing to be bullied by the millennial mouseketeer types that just want to silence any form of logic or narrative that goes against America first, meaning a country that's developing policies to look after the cops, the farmers, the military, that were really treated like second-class citizens where they're the real heroes. So, and I think it's great that we have a new White House that is in favor of charter schools, which creates, like Jennifer Hudson says, she goes, "I'm all about providing access to the greatest education for our children." That's what charter schools do, and it is a lottery, but it doesn't show blatant favoritism either way, and gives kids who come from positions of complete poverty an opportunity to actually make it in this world and to get into college and get scholarships. So Eva Moskowitz, she's in charge of the Success Academy. She just wrote a book, which is basically, not basically, it's about her story. And she makes it very clear that de Blasio, that equal opportunity education cockblocker of the lowest, most despicable order, has done everything in his power to try to stop it because he's got the teachers' unions in his back pocket. And, meanwhile, you watch the show Waiting for Superman. Apparently, it's like impossible to fire a teacher in New York City when they suck, and the only people that are doing a disservice to is the children, and the children are our future. Coming to America is still so funny. Do it all, dads. Totally watch it with your children. Just make it very clear. Don't drop F-bombs like Eddie, and I think they'll be okay. So, and what I mean by born to be more big time than dad is that I plan on being a success in this world. Sure, yeah, I achieved a TV writing goal, but in the end, what I have to show for it? A leather Fastenal jacket, which is a good lesson for my children. I said, listen, money equals freedom, right? And nothing's better than money earned. I said, what's Daddy's favorite possession? And they know, leather jacket. So, I wish I had this conversation with my dad. I did not, but I believe God, when we talk about meaning and purpose, something Michael Savage is talking about, if you don't believe in God, well, how do you find meaning? Well, I do believe in God. How can you not believe in God when you have gorgeous children that are healthy and sweet and wonderful, but they make me the most spoiled dad in the world? But he also says, well, you could incorporate meaning in your life by excelling at something. And I definitely feel that I'm beginning to excel more and more at fatherhood, but it really is a gift from God, and I don't see any reason why God wouldn't make us. Because again, folks, the Lord says, "I've sacrificed." I'm like, babe, you act like an aspiring comedian. It's like 20s, 20 kids ever. No intention to have kids ever. Never had a relationship with God. All that's changed now, and I thank the Almighty above for giving this opportunity to fight the good fight, be a truth teller, and tell amazing, awesome children's stories. Because I'll tell Fancy Nancy, pretty freaking slim pickings. So, Guy, I know my purpose, and it's definitely to make sure that my children are that they live. Let me rephrase that. I know what my purpose is, and that's to make sure that all three of my children, Arthur Morrison Kornbluth, Anna Rose Duffy, and Samuel Teddy Kornbluth, are born to be more big time than Dad, and that they start getting addicted to winning sooner than later, and that they have amazing memories, amazing actual glory days to reference through the plethora of awesome memories being celebrated for all of their TKOs, homers, and dunks. This is Michael Kornbluth, host of the Do It All Dad Year podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. Controlling our kids through comedy can make our kids great again, and I'll talk to you guys soon.